Hey, thanks for watching Numbskull News. And today I'm talking about the delusions of Duke. The delusions of grandeur, not just Duke. I'm going to be talking about UNC and UVA as well. I'm going to be talking a lot about realignment. Maybe some of you are tired of hearing me talk about realignment. Well, then you go tell everybody else to shut the hell up. And then I'll shut the hell up. Until then, kiss my ass. I'm going to keep talking about it. Because everybody else has got something to say. Now, the people that I listen to, I respect a lot. All right. Everybody has similar narratives going on. Oh boy, and there's been some stories and some bullshit dropped about Duke here recently. I'm sorry, I don't buy any of it. Now, Duke, UNC, UVA, they're all great universities, legendary academic universities. Of course, they kick ass, massive, gigantic endowments. All right, top-notch research, the whole nine. All right, great. Ain't nothing. I ain't talking shit on them at all when it comes to that stuff. Basketball, legendary. Other sports, the sports that don't make any money, they do great with. Football, yeah. And there's the crux of the problem that I have with such stories. So, when it comes to Duke, because, I've already dispelled a lot of the bullshit reasons for some of these schools, especially UNC, getting to one of the big two conferences. Now we got more reasons. Now we have more reasons with Duke. Their international money. I've looked it up. Apparently they have a lot of good business dealings. They do research for international firms, international people. No one knows how much money that is. Why? Because Duke's a private school. They don't have to share that with anybody. So no one knows how much money they make in these other endeavors internationally. Okay. But I want you to ask a simple question. What does any of that do for ESPN? Apparently it does a lot of good stuff for Duke. Hey, that's great. They get like over 4,000 students a year international students coming on in, paying the freight to go to Duke. And trust me, they're paying top dollar. But that's a top dollar university. We can all agree with that. I'm sure UNC has a great set of international students that come in every year. Same thing with UVA. But how does that help ESPN? Oh, but wait, UNC, they're going to build a huge off-campus stadium or coliseum. Let's just call it a coliseum. A gigantic thing for what? For cricket. International cricket. How many of us are playing fantasy cricket leagues this year? I know I am. I'm balls deep into some international cricket fantasy league. Are you kidding me? How does that help ESPN? How does it help the SEC? This is where they want to go, right? Big Ten, SEC. How does it help any of that shit? That has not been made clear to me. How does any of that, all of Duke's international money? Because look, I don't care if it's Duke, UNC, or UVA. I don't care how much money they make overseas. They're not making that with their sports programs. I mean, you can tell, hey, NBA's international. NBA is big in China. Now, do you want to depend on that shit? We're at the brink of nuclear war with Russia. Who's Russia's big butt buddy? That's China. I don't know if you want to depend on that too much. Because that government, they're real big on shutting shit down real fast if they don't like the way you're handling stuff. If they think you have a few too many pride parades on campus, trust me, they will just null whatever deal. Because that's China. That's that communist dictatorship over there. And there's certain things culturally they don't like, especially about America. So you want to depend on that market? Oh, but hey, NBA's big in Europe too. Europe has their own professional basketball leagues that are pretty popular. Now, NBA is going to try to start up a league over there. So how does that help the SEC? How does that help Duke? How does that help UNC? How does that help UVA? It doesn't. For a very, very long time now, everybody keeps saying what the Big Ten presidents want and what the SEC presidents want. That's all anybody's sources ever talk about. I got a question. What does ESPN want? What does their stockholders want? What does Fox, NBC, and CBS want and their stockholders? We keep hearing about big streamers going to enter the market in the next few years. What do you think they and their stockholders want? It's three words I keep saying over and over and over again. Because I watch different live streams of different programs and I interact with their fans because sometimes we share subscribers or whatever. But I'll interact with them on there. And it always comes down to these three words. It's the only truthful shit that Hillary Clinton ever said. The only brilliant thing, the brilliant truthful thing she's ever said in her life. Follow the money. Real simple. Follow the money. Not just how you're making money now, how you're going to make money in the future. And look, and many of you will tell me, I am sure, that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I know that. Shit. If I don't know anything else, it's that. I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't understand how you solve a student apocalypse problem by adding in a school that gets students. How does that get you students? I don't understand that. It has not ever been made clear, but it's been put out there by multiple content creators in this space, ones that I am fans of. But that shit has never been made clear to me. How does the SEC gain students because UVA, UNC, or Duke get students? I don't understand that. But like I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Maybe that's true. Maybe that really does help the SEC if there's a student apocalypse. Although the things I've read about Alabama killing it and crushing it as far as getting students, a gigantic student base, and a lot of these SEC schools killing it and crushing it as far as getting students in the door, paying customers. But all that being said, let's say it does help the SEC and their schools. How does that help ESPN make money, their lone media partner? How? Simple answer. It doesn't do shit for ESPN. It doesn't. Not to the ESPN stockholders, not the Disney stockholders. It doesn't help them at all. How many times do I have to say it? And look. There's one valid point. Getting UNC and Duke to the SEC. And that's the biggest college basketball matchup every year. Happens multiple times every year. You want those matchups, those games in the SEC. It's a huge ratings draw and it makes money. Great. Brilliant. The problem is, basketball is 20% of your revenue. 20%. football is 80. The last time I checked, I could barely do math, but 80% is higher than 20%. So it helps, it's nice, but let's not pretend basketball, I don't care what level, draws like football does. It doesn't. Does it? Because you know what else gets great basketball ratings? Alabama does. Yeah. When Alabama basketball plays Florida basketball, trust me, that's a highly rated game. Maybe not as highly rated as UNC and Duke, but it's up there. You know what's not up there? When UNC and Duke play football, that's not exactly a huge game. When Alabama football plays Florida football, that's a monster. That football game means a hell of a lot more than UNC versus Duke basketball. Oh yeah, it does. Because it's a whole different world of advertisers, people. SEC football advertisers just pay more for the time because it's worth more. Ratings aren't equal. This is something you can easily look up. Ratings aren't equal. Oh, that's got high ratings. Yeah, but the interest in it's basketball, people. It doesn't matter as much as football. Advertisers don't pay the same top dollar like they do for SEC football or Big Ten football. Folks, this current realignment, this isn't 1985 anymore. It isn't 95, 05, or 2015, or any year in there. It's not. This shit is about consolidation. Follow the money. Where is the money? Why consolidate? Why are we following the money to consolidation? What is consolidation about? About something else I've been yelling about for years now. Premium matchups in football. Premium matchups in basketball is nice. It ain't as nice as football. 80% of your freaking revenue. The SEC is getting paid the top freaking dollar. The Big Ten is getting paid huge top freaking dollar, not based on their academics, not based on their basketball or their baseball or rugby or cricket or water polo or the 40-yard freaking dash. It's based on football. This redneck ass sport pays 80% of the bills. It's responsible for the big gigantic paydays of those two conferences. Consolidation is about premium matchups. They're consolidating the biggest brands to get the most premium matchups so that these media companies can make the most money possible from their advertisers, because you got big ass ratings every week with premium matchups, which Duke, UVA, nor UNC provide. I don't care if they're invested in an oil company overseas. I don't care if they're doing research for Abu Dhabi or whoever the hell. That does not help ESPN. Doesn't help Disney, Fox, NBC, or CBS. That's where I've been coming from. And look, all these reporters have been just balls deep in UNC going to one of the big two. I understand. I got about a 1% chance of being right about UNC. I think I got about a 95% chance of being right about UVA and Duke. Because UNC is like everyone's big wet dream to go to the SEC or Big Ten. And everyone last week and last 2 weeks have been talking about, oh, UNC's targeting SEC and all this talk about UNC to the SEC. That's all been put out there by UNC, not by the SEC. Paul Feinbaum himself, you know, that golem looking sumbitch, he came out and said, look, this ain't the way Greg Sankey, it ain't the way he does. He doesn't just put shit out there. He's not going to. You're going to hear crickets until something happens. See Texas and Oklahoma. No one heard jack shit about those two legitimate, monstrous ass brands way bigger than anything UNC ever thought of being. Texas and Oklahoma. And no one heard shit about them leaving the Big 12, which they have owned and operated for decades, to go to the SEC. No one heard shit about that. That's how the SEC works. You're not going to hear anything. So why are you hearing something now? Because UNC is desperate. And they're putting shit out there. Because all these teams are talking to the big conferences. A few of them are talking to the Big 12. Because that can happen now. People can talk now. Because there's an expiration date now on the ACC. That damn number, that $75 million ain't that much to get out of a conference, folks. You go from about $500 million to about 75. That's a hell of a deal. Especially if you're going to go to the Big Two. But look, follow the money. And I'm not saying follow the money that goes into the pockets of UNC or Duke or UVA. How does Fox, NBC, CBS, and ESPN, how do those stockholders, how do the big streaming stockholders make money with those schools? There's a lot of ways they can make money with them. But at the right price. At the right price. Because it's not the price of the SEC right now or the Big Ten right now. It's the price of their next media deal you got to look at. We're talking about when the money for their media rights goes north of $85 million per team. That's right, from about 60 million to about 85, 90. Yeah, that's the price. Don't sit there and tell me any one of those three schools are worth that price. Their football brand. Because that's the only way you can make up for it. To ESPN stockholders, to Disney stockholders, to all the other media companies and big streaming companies coming into the market, that's the only thing they're looking at is how do we make money? The biggest way you make money is football. Are those football brands? Hell no, they're not. They're not. They're great universities. Fantastic, legendary. All three have really solid sports programs. Except for football. They've always been wankers in football. I don't know. And as far as Duke's been pretty decent here recently. But they had one pretty stellar year in the ratings. Over 1 million viewers per week on average. But you book in that year with one shit year and an even shittier shit year of last year. They've had some embarrassing viewership. Right there with UVA. UNC, not as embarrassing. But still inconsistent. That's how the stockholders of these big media companies that are writing the fucking checks to the SEC and Big Ten, that's how they make money. Football viewership. And your viewership will tell you what kind of brand you are. What kind of premium matchups that you can provide. Folks, I can't explain it any simpler than that because it's not. It is not some wild ass, complicated, international bullshit. It just isn't. Even though people I really respect here on YouTube are saying things like that. I understand it because that's what they're being told. That's what other reporters are writing and putting online. I get it. Why listen to some redneck dumbass from Fort Worth, Texas? I don't know. Maybe it's because I know how to break shit down and simplify it. Make it real simple. Follow the money. Because it's what everyone's been saying this whole time. All of these national reporters, even some that talk about international bullshit and coliseums and all this and that, they all talk about following the money. This is all about greed, right? It's all about greed. Well, you got to follow the money to find out what the motivations of that greed are. Greed don't care about how many students get an education. They care about how many of those students are going to pay for their streaming service. How many of those students are going to pay for a Big Ten or SEC network? How many of those students can they count on to be viewers so they can charge advertisers out the ass and make their money? It's so simple to me. And maybe it's just a dumbass take. You could, everybody's going to disagree. Fine. But if I'm right, look, if I'm wrong, I'll make the videos. Oh yeah. Got no problem owning up to it, taking the big losses. Don't give a shit about doing any of that. Because I'm a contrarian by nature. I know there's a good shot that I'm wrong. But if I'm right, you're going to see not just one video. You're going to see a gloating son of a bitch, the worst bastard in the entire universe, coming right for your crotch over and over and over again. I will remind all of you over and over again about my brilliance and your sheer stupidity. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be a 50-50 split. I don't know. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this crap. I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.